All right, 33ers, let's do this. Another super nerdy, super fun Q&A video. All right, this first one comes from Jonathan Silva. He writes, shrink on or off? I used to keep it on and just make a slit for the vinyl. I've changed my ways and started removing the shrink entirely. Now I'm thinking about going back to my old ways of slit only, leaving hype stickers as they were intended, as God intended. Yeah, this is super nerdy and I love nerdy. So let's get into this. Shrink wrap. I sometimes leave it on, and I sometimes take it off. It all depends. Like on a gatefold, an LP with a gatefold, I'm going to take off the shrink wrap because I want to see what's inside the record. In those cases, I will do my darndest to preserve the hype sticker, right? I like hype stickers. A lot of people collect hype stickers. I wouldn't say I'm a hype sticker collector, but I do dig hype stickers. So if I can, I'll carefully peel off the hype sticker. And then often, I'm not sure if this is a good example or not. Let's see. It isn't. Oftentimes, if I can get the hype sticker off, I'll stick it on the inner sleeve. If I try to get the hype sticker off and I'm not being very successful, I'll just kind of cut it out and insert it in there. I know you can do things like using a hair dryer and whatnot to get hype stickers off as well. I'm not devoted enough to do that, but that's kind of what I do. That's for albums like double albums or gatefold albums. When it comes to single sleeve albums, sometimes I take the shrink off, sometimes I leave it on. There's a cool hype sticker. I think this is a Royal Blood. And I kept this hype sticker on because otherwise it doesn't say who this band is, the title of the album, anything like that. So I often try to keep the shrink wrap on and preserve the hype sticker, right? If it's a cool looking hype sticker, if it doesn't detract or distract from the artwork, I'll leave it on. Otherwise, I'll just pull the hype sticker off and just, same as the double, try to carefully peel it off, cut it out, and insert it. That kind of thing. All right, Jonathan had a second part to his question. He wrote, how do you open sealed vinyl? I've used various methods like blades, keys, etc. and have damaged some jackets like this. Now I just tug away at the shrink. Yeah, I mean, it really depends. I sometimes use a knife and just very carefully cut it because I don't want to cut the album jacket off. If it's loose enough, I'll just take it off by hand, but it really depends on how tight that shrink is or whatever. But yeah, generally I use my blade to cut it. All right, this question comes from Jeff. Jeff writes, do you have an opinion about those artists like Taylor Swift, Pearl Jam, who have jumped on board with the multiple variations of the same album? Is one more valuable or just a gimmick? I would love to see a segment on this topic. Man, so many artists are jumping on this. What did he call it? On board. I was going to call it a bandwagon. We're jumping on board with these multiple pressings, variations, that kind of stuff. I also saw Ace Frehley's record label is really bad for this kind of stuff. I saw the new Sebastian Bach, the new Judas Priest. I mean, this is common, man. Everyone's doing this. Like 5, 6 variants, vinyl variants of a new release. And it's not just limited to music. Like any hobby with collectability has gone down this road. Movies. I'm a movie guy, and they're just like steel books, alternative artwork, like all sorts of crazy stuff. My wife is really into books, and she was telling me, like, even books, there's alternative covers and this sort of stuff. It's madness. Madness designed to excite collectors and get people to buy, I guess, more than one copy for collectability's sake, right? So Jeff's question is, do you have an opinion on those artists? I don't know. I'm not sure how much it's even up to the artist to do that kind of stuff versus the record label. But at the end of the day, I guess I don't really care. I'm personally not a fan of collecting multiple and collecting variations, that kind of stuff. I really like just plain old, regular old school black vinyl, really. So it doesn't affect me, and I guess doesn't directly affect me. And I guess if someone wants to buy these variations, I guess go for it. It's your own money. It doesn't, I really don't care. But I guess then there's the other side of the argument that if, Taylor Swift has 12 variations of her album, it's tying up record plants and pressing plants and that kind of stuff. But I guess conversely, that kind of stuff is also keeping pressing plants in business and helping this whole record revival thing continue to expand and grow. So I don't know. I'm talking in circles here now, Jeff, but ultimately I don't collect variations, and ultimately it doesn't really bother me one way or another if artists and record labels want to go down that road. What do you think?
Channel 33 RPM.
Okay, this one comes from Vasilis. I'm sorry if I butchered that name. Question is, would like to know your opinion on Japanese pressings and if they deserve to double, triple, or even more prices than a European pressing or a US one. From your personal experience, is it worth it really, or is it more of a collector's thing? So this person is asking about Japanese pressings and whether they are worth the premium. I didn't realize the premium is now like double or triple standard North American or European pressings. That seems outrageously expensive. Personally, I do love Japanese pressings. I got a whole bunch. Let's see if I can quickly grab one just nearby. Just the closest ones to me. Just grabbed a few. Here's a Japanese pressing of Kiss Double Platinum. Here's a Japanese pressing of Kiss Alive 2. Here's a Japanese only release Kiss, the originals 2. And I do love Japanese pressings. The pressing quality is typically excellent, and the Japanese releases tended to come with bonus items we didn't get here, whether extra tracks, an extra 45, extra posters, inserts, and of course the Obi strip, right? Not everyone, but I really dig the Obi strip. But I didn't realize that some of these are now going for like double or triple regular pressings. I agree there should be a premium on them, but I figured it'd be like 25%, not 100% or 200%. So, I mean, if that's how much more they're going for now, because I haven't looked into this for a while, I don't think it's worth that much more. But yeah, I mean, back when I was collecting a lot of the Japanese pressings, because I haven't bought one in a few years, I paid 25% more, something like that. And of course, shipping from Japan is always an issue. It's much more expensive. But I do love Japanese pressings. Some people say they are, like, the sound of them is a little more trebly than, say, North American ones, right? They pull up the treble on them. I'm not sure if I have necessarily found that to be the case myself, but I do love Japanese pressings, but no, I wouldn't pay like 3 times the cost for one. Okay, this question comes from Richard. What do you do as your day job? And as a follow-up, did you ever think about getting into the music business, maybe opening up a record shop or something along those lines? I've talked in the past about my day job. I was trained as a journalist. I went to college for journalism. And I was a newspaper reporter for like 12 years, mostly covering politics in a couple of different cities here in Canada. And I just saw the writing on the wall for print media, and I got tired of seeing my colleagues laid off. And I knew if I stuck around, eventually my number would get called because print media has been in decline for well over a decade now. So around 2011, I pivoted and I left journalism and I got into media relations, basically working on the other side of things. And I got a job at a large college in Edmonton, Alberta, where I was living at the time, and got into corporate communications and that kind of stuff, working on the other side of things. So nowadays I work for a government office and I do communications, media relations, all that kind of stuff. So it's not really journalism, but still kind of involved in that communications, mass communications, that kind of stuff. And I dig it. And that really, it's probably a big reason why I do these videos as well, because that was part of my training, right? Journalism, and though I'm not a reporter anymore, it helps me connect directly with an audience, which I still really like. The other part of Richard's question was, did I ever think getting into the music business, maybe opening up a record shop? I remember back in journalism school, deep down I wanted to be an entertainment reporter, but then I did some digging and research. This was back in the 90s. And I was like, oh, there's so few jobs for entertainment reporters in newspapers. And even then I was thinking if there was any section of a newspaper to be cut, it would be entertainment. So I thought for my own career longevity, I probably shouldn't get into being an entertainment writer. So I got into news. I wrote kind of crime and courts for a while. Then I got into politics, which I really enjoyed writing about that kind of stuff. So, no, I never really thought about getting into the music biz or opening up a record store or anything like that. So, yeah, it'd be fun. Okay, this next question comes from Craig. He asks or writes, talk about your episode workflow, a day in the life of Channel 33 RPM. Well, I work full-time days. And I have a family and kids and a wife, so just due to my current situation, I do YouTube videos when I have the time to do them, and that is usually late into the evening, right? Maybe 8, and sometimes I get so into it, I look up and it's like midnight. I'm like, I better go to bed because I got to wake up in the morning. So yeah, I do videos when I can, and typically I like to have 3-4 videos in the can, like 3 or 4 videos ready to go. So if one week I get too busy with work or family or the house or whatever, I'm not in a predicament where I'm wondering what to do. I have a video ready to go. And when my bank of videos in the can gets like to below 2 or 3, if I only have a couple of videos left, then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take a few weeks off from creating videos so I can go make a few more and have them in the can ready to go. Particularly, like, some of my videos are largely improvised. This one's largely improvised, but others require a lot of research and scripting and stuff. Like if I'm doing a video about an album, about album cover history, or, look like album covers, those are really highly scripted. So I also take a little bit of time to write the script and develop it. This question comes from Scott. Do you remember your first stereo and record player that you started with when you were younger? Yeah, man, when I was growing up, we had a few stereos in our household. One was a big console record player in this big console system. I did a video about that a couple years ago. That was fun revisiting that. Then we had a main stereo in the basement, and that one, I believe it was a Panasonic turntable from the 70s and a Pioneer receiver, which I really dug. And then in my room, when I was a kid, my mom had given me her stereo that she had when she was a kid. And it's kind of like, almost like a stereo, like almost like a suitcase style record player, maybe, but like, I'm not describing it well. It was this, like a big suitcase. And then the front had this door and it would drop down, and the turntable would drop down, and the sides were speakers, and you could disconnect the speakers and place them anywhere. And I can't even remember what the name brand of that one was. And 13 Carry 1 writes, what was your first vinyl you got? Do you have a special memory with it or the band and the artist? Yeah, the first record I got with my own money was Quiet Riot's Mental Health back in like late 83, early 84. I've been 10 years old. I saved up my allowance. My parents took me to a downtown department store to pick it up, and I was so happy to grab that record. I still have the original one back on my shelf to this day. And I loved Quiet Riot at the time, and they were definitely a gateway for me to get into rock, along with, Motley Crue, Priest, and all those other bands. I don't listen to Quiet Riot a lot, but I still have that album because the memory of buying it means a lot to me. All right, 33ers, how would you have answered the questions in today's video? Let me know. If you're interested in supporting this channel, check out the Channel 33 RPM store. I sell a ton of cool t-shirts. Just go to Google and search Channel 33 RPM store. Be back again really soon. Until then, keep on spinning.